I should probably put on an intro so we can allow people time to come in. Let me find one. Let's do something different. How about we do something different? Let's go into the archives. Let's see. What do we got here? Something quick. Something fast. Here we go. We'll just do this one. All right. We'll be right back in a minute and 40 seconds. Todd Medina, Soulogy One Studios. What's going on here? Democracies, aristocracies, oligarchies, monarchies, hierarchies, presidents and popes. What's the real dope? What's this all about? Faith, hope, doubt? That's all that earth stuff, man. I am a multi-dimensional, high-vibrational, evolutionary being, and I'm tired of hiding it. I am soul. I don't care who or what tried or is trying to deceive us. Call it the devil or another's Messiah, prophet, or God. It's all the same to me. Whoever they are, they can never take our souls, and that's when we came here to learn. From the burn of being wrong, denying who we are, taking orders, lawless laws, a branded existence, but not anymore. I am divinity. Yeah. Alright. The power we hold to mold the future, heavenly nirvana. From the inside, present, eternal. It's time to be a bolder flame. The game isn't the same. We are the spirit science synthesis, the action of conscious thought, alignment, transmuting to a living wisdom. Yeah. No longer dreaming the life, I am living the dream. All right, we got Robert Evans in the house.
Hello.
He's so the really cool thing about having you on is you are like a representation of the energy that this platform is all about, which is, what do I know about you? I've seen you around for quite a while, and your presence, and then slowly your words, and then I was really moved by, when I was at the Soulogy Fest, I couldn't get internet till late at night, and then when everybody would go to bed, I could get the internet because we weren't streaming, and I would go in and watch the video from the day, and your conversations and other people in the chat room. It was amazing. I was just like, wow, how in the hell did they not just match, but surpass the energy of what was happening there at the Soulogy Fest? So that to me was just like a really, really good metaphor of what you bring to the table. So what has brought you to the table? I mean, what's your story? I mean, I'm really curious to know how this has all happened for you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Soulogy was amazing. That was very transformational for me, being there, watching that. And I felt so much unlock within me, just kind of these connections, these different galactic connections, and, kind of just these things that maybe I had like some lingering doubt that was kind of holding me back. Mm-hmm. It was like, that was this on-ramp onto the, I guess you could call it the soul highway. It was just like, boom, now I'm taking off. But I've really been experiencing that since 2021, to be honest. This year has been very powerful for me. Just the energetics of the year feel different. Things feel very open. They feel like they're flowing. There isn't kind of this density in the earth that used to be holding me back from expressing my truth, from coming out, even though I still had some lingering kind of things in me where I couldn't totally speak up. It's like when 2021 started, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to express what I can. Yeah. And then from doing that on Facebook and just more presently with people in my life, and I really just started seeing these massive reflections, and it just kind of helped me speed up and open up this authenticity in me that I think I was kind of hiding. So yeah, this year has been massive for me. I've
Wow.
unlocked it, but I've been on this path for the last few years.
Really?
Just
Yeah.
yeah, this
Did
year.
you have a typical wake up experience, where
No,
your family opened you, your family welcomed you with open arms, and you didn't have any traumas, that one?
no, no, not at all. Yeah, so I got sick with diagnosed with Crohn's disease a few years ago.
Mm.
So I got really sick for a few years right after high school.
Wow.
That was right
How old
uh,
are you?
2014. So I was 18 years old, turning 19.
So you're what, 25?
26, yeah.
Wow, that's trippy because I've got so you were born in what, 96?
95, yeah.
Okay, I got one son 96 and one 90, no, 194 and 196. So you're right in the middle of them. So that's really cool.
Wow.
Because, we haven't had, I mean, I remember going back, 2, 3 years, really even a year ago, there wasn't a lot there's a lot more young people coming on. I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. No, it's been a journey for sure. Cause it's kind of like I started my spiritual path without really knowing it because I was so sick, and I was in this place where it's like, now I have to heal myself, you
Really?
know? And yeah, my doctors didn't have the answers, and,
So
so
you actually, it came into your head, I've got to do this myself.
yeah. Well, it was just this continuation of, when they diagnose you with an autoimmune disease, they're kind of telling you, we don't know what's really wrong with you.
Wow.
Like we have these correlating symptoms. We can see your body's reacting this way that's similar to everyone else, but we don't know what the underlying cause is. We think your body's attacking itself, which never really resonated with me. It felt like it was something deeper. And so I kind of had to take this huge pause, and I spent a lot of days in the hospital that first year, about 100 days in the hospital, tons of time laying in bed, just super duper sick. And I was really just going through this huge life review of all of these kind of failed relationships in high school when I was kind of in a darker place. And just kind of like journeying through myself and kind of traveling while I was like half asleep on drugs, like just kind of this whole trippy kind of experience was unfolding for me. And I really didn't have any context for it. And so I guess I started kind of exploring from there, but there was no beings coming forward saying like, oh, here we are. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I was just in it.
Yeah. Just you and the universe.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's that brutal honesty of the soul, but you're young. I mean, by Earth years.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have like, people your age, that you talk to about this stuff, or,
Most of my friends are in their 30s,
yeah.
or a little older. That's just kind of how my life is kind of shaken up. Just because, people my age, I typically, it's like we can hang out, we're cool. I feel like I understand them. It's just, there's a little bit less resonance, I guess, and like kind of like life goals and what we care about.
Yeah.
I'm not into, partying or, a lot of, well, actually I am into I am the party, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into, a lot of the things I used to be into, whether it be, just like doing drugs or drinking or, whatever. For me,
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
I want
Yeah.
the real intimate conversations. So that
Yeah.
typically happens with adults. Oftentimes women are awesome. Even women who aren't tapped into spiritual paths can go way deeper than most men. So
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Geez, everybody listen to this. Wow, that's cool. And in regard to the feminine, has that been an influence on you, or is that something that's just come up within you that you notice these things? Or
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, I was very much kind of embodying what a lot of people would call like a toxic masculine kind of existence in high school. I was this wrestling team captain, martial artist, mixed martial artist, kind of alpha male type. I was very obsessed with kind of, getting laid, being seen a certain type of way, being physically strong, being kind of like dominant, just in my world. And I thought I was going to go into the military. I thought I was going to, I wanted to be like special operations and a UFC fighter. And I had all these things in my head just kind of because of my upbringing into these martial arts, as well as just distortion I took on trying to fit in. So it's been a journey for me, really kind of healing this feminine side of myself for years. And, so initially it was unraveling a lot of like destructive kind of relationships I kind of had with women, like not, just like women I kind of dated or talked to when I was younger, and then, just kind of unraveling that and then unraveling like this creativity in myself. It's like I lost this martial arts side when I got sick, but I kind of gained this, I started getting into freestyle rap. I started getting into hip hop dance. I started really getting into this stuff and this expression, and is like a rocket ship of just me exploring this creativity and exploring presence and, all these very more feminine things that, they were just kind of lost on me when I was younger.
Wow. That's powerful. I can relate to that. I can relate to that. It's so funny because when for me, when I get information in and it's really relevant, the past, present, future merge. And it's always been that way. But as you're talking, I'm thinking about when I was on the streets those first 2 years and I would dance in the clubs 5 or 6 nights a week. And that had just started for me, right? Like the hip hop and electronic dancing, and eventually, the other stuff that I got into. But in that 2 years, when you're talking about, you got into the creative feminine side, I never thought of that. But when I was doing that, I was never concerned about what anyone thought, and if you're in a club, especially if it's the type of clubs I was in, there was a lot of testosterone, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what you're actually representing is, and you explained it very well, this part of you that's coming out and speaking.
Yeah.
And as a man that is, in the physical, incarnated as a man, if you're on the program of men on the earth as we thought it was, you can't do that. You can't do it. You can't, because you're going to be ridiculed and all that stuff. It's interesting, what you're talking about. Yeah. But, and I wanted to ask you too, I've been wanting to, I don't know why, I guess this came in my field, 3 or 4 days ago about this whole UFC MMA. I thought, why is this here? And what I was finding was that, if I was scrolling YouTube or Facebook videos, I'm an old boxing fan. I'm an old sports fan. And I can watch something, from the 80s or something. I don't know. Maybe it's because that's when I grew up. But I can't watch these. I can't even understand the energy, the press conferences, the weigh-ins, the fights themselves, the comments, the veracity of engagement by what can only be toxic energy, because I don't see any value in it. How do you feel about all that stuff? You've been in martial arts. You had aspirations to go UFC. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, of course, I wanted to do the grandiose thing, which was the UFC. It was like, oh, what's the best thing I could do? Like, try and be a world champion at something. And there was a lot of problems there, a lot of insecurity there, that I wanted to be seen as somebody special. I wanted to be seen as somebody tough, somebody strong. And I see that in a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys, they have like these inner demons that they're really fighting. And it kind of comes out in this super tough guy form. And you kind of see the embodiment of that. And a lot of it's just fear. Yeah. They're actually just afraid. And some guys are having fun and some guys are moving with it. And, those guys tend to kind of be some of the better ones. But, even still, it's like this, what pops into my head now is this my truth versus your truth. It's like the ultimate epitome of that, fighting each other.
Yeah.
You know, here's
someone's got to be right.
Yeah. Someone's got to be right. Someone's got to be better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the ultimate competition, you know, the ultimate fighting championships. And so that's kind of maybe why you feel so uncomfortable with it. And in the last year, I've really had to turn that off.
Yeah.
I used to love it. I used to follow it. I followed the top guys. And, you know,
well, I mean, you know, competition is competition. And, you know, I had I played sports like most people, you know, I mean, and I loved it, and it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, what taught me was what must come through in martial arts, you know, the I don't know what you would call it, lifestyle or philosophy, but it's all about self-empowerment, self-expansion. But when you get into that arena where it becomes, you know, I got to be right, which means I got to win at all costs or whatever the case, and that competitive, I mean, I totally went in head first in that. And I've noticed, because what you said is very true, especially 2021. As I've gone on my journey, I've noticed how deep these levels of competition programming have gone, and even into my work in Soulogy. You know, I mean, this has almost been a daily thing for me to pull up those who I feel an urge to compete with or beat. You know what I mean? And I say that sincerely, but yeah, it's been a great learning tool. But yeah, I think you describe it right. Do you think that this, what you described with the UFC mentality, in other words, if you look at it from the energetics, the masculine fighting itself, right? Until what? Until no one's standing, right? I mean, do you feel like that's kind of a snapshot of what's happening?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose there's that, you know, it's kind of like this, the masculine fighting itself, I guess, until it realizes it doesn't need to anymore.
Yeah.
You know, which is,
you know, or until you realize that you're never going to win.
Yeah, and that's the thing with a lot of these guys, you know, they rise to the very top, and there's always that hole. There's always that thing that's bothering them, that chip on their shoulder. That's so painful. And you hear that with celebrities and, you know, all kinds of people. And I really wanted to be famous. You know, that was a big thing for me, like kind of getting into the rap, kind of getting into the music, is I kind of had this obsession with, like, I want to be some kind of grandiose, larger than life thing. And that would make it all worth it. Everything I went through, all the pain, all the struggling, all the, you know, like, I thought it would make it all worth it. And it's really been in this last, you know, that's been dissipating over time. But this last year, I really let go of that a few months ago. And it was like powerful. It's like, oh, no, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want to do.
That's right. You know?
And then from there, I also kind of, I've worked with these different kind of spiritual collectives. I've gone in and out of groups over the last few years. And I recently came into this group of people who work with fire. And they just listen to the fire, and they don't necessarily care about ascension, and they don't necessarily care about the words of everything. But the guy leading the group, this guy Costa, he's doing it. He's doing the work. He's just not worried about it. He's not in his mind about it. And he's just listening to the fire, and it just gives him everything he needs. Wow. And, you know, so it's so interesting. And he had this, so I joined the group, and we did this nothing kind of month where we journeyed through being nothing, and I let go and I let myself being nothing. And I was like, well, I don't have to be anything. Like, I'm nothing, like, and that's fine. And then when I surrendered into nothing, I got the downloads of, like, oh, here's everything you are.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And you can't fake it, right? I mean, there's something about the humility of nothingness, and you hit that point, and immediately it's a simultaneous reaction of everything, right? Yeah. Where do you live? What part of the country?
I live in Massachusetts.
Oh, you're in Massachusetts. Yeah. I lived in Worcester. I lived in Worcester for about 6 months.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool area, man. It's a very,
I live in Holland. It's about 50 minutes from Worcester. Yeah.
Oh, right on, right on. And so how did you, yeah, I knew because we've exchanged a couple of messages here and there, and, I don't have, but I remember when I went to write you, and which was interesting because I think Monique had already set you up, which was really weird. I saw you, I don't know how it happened, but you were on the schedule to be confirmed. So I don't know how that went down, but I remember having a conversation with you, I think, about doing a little freestyling.
Yeah.
Did we? I don't remember.
Yeah. I think a few years ago, a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, I sent you a freestyle.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
I was I wanted to be seen as something when I made that post.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting posting things online because you can really feel, kind of the reflection of what other people, just there's this massive reflection from everyone who sees the post, including yourself, and you see the truth. It's like this almost alchemy for people who really listen.
Yeah.
Like, now I can see what's really going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is, what you're saying is so true because like when I first started out, I used to watch them and to look for what you're talking about. And then I realized, don't watch them because what you've done is what you've done. Right. And I don't know, there's something about the motivation of just like showing your ass that if you just keep going out there and stepping up, it gets easier.
It does, for sure. But when I made that post, I felt so much kind of like stuff in it, like kind of just like distorted, like wanting to be seen as something, wanted to be seen by you as something, wanted to be seen by possibly the community. And so you asked if you could post it on your wall or if I could post on your wall. And I was like, no, I can't. Not yet.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this again, I mean, I remember getting a download at 40, I'm 59. So it was 10 years ago. And when I started getting Soulogy. And then I remember it came in like when you're 57, 58, you're going to bust your ass till then. And then these young people are just going to come. And I know it wasn't just talking about Soulogy. It was talking about our entire collective experience. These young people would come and they would just blow it away. So I'm sitting here listening to you and everything that you're representing and transmitting, and it's just right on the money. It really is. So your transparency, some people might call it honesty, but you're actually putting it right on the table. And what I love about it is, and I can relate to it because of my early years, is that brutal honesty of the soul that you're accepting in yourself, and you seem to be without judgment. You actually see it as like you see this code, and you're utilizing it to expand and sharing it, which is great. My friend in Sedona, Ty Hudnall, who's a great musician, he says, when you receive something because it's immediately shareable, and you're embodying that. Big props.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a journey to release that judgment that has, it's, gradually kind of falls off you over time. I felt my health issues even kind of helped me with that, kind of release like this need for my body to be physically something, special, like a specimen, to be like, super athletic or muscular or something. That has really helped me to release this judgment of my appearance and other people's appearances. And then even recently, I put up a post about, becoming equals with the people who have really helped you on your path. And that was a massive kind of, I was listening to, I forget his name, the last speaker, but he's talking about the songs write themselves kind of.
Yeah.
And that was one of those posts that just wrote itself, but it wrote it, and I received the download of it. And it was just kind of like this, now I felt cool. Like now I felt like now I can, I don't need validation from anyone, whether it be you or, maybe like Jason or Lavelle Zimmerman's been a big, person.
Yeah. Lavelle's good people. Yeah.
Yeah. My journey. And so I wanted like this validation, and then I just kind of released that, and then I was free, and then Soulogy happened, and now I'm on the show. So, yeah.
One of the things I've noticed about the young people, like, I guess it'd be like, early 20s to say, late 20s, early 30s, is a lot of them don't talk about particular consciousnesses, particular faces of the universe, like Kuan Yin or Arcturians or dragons or whatever. They don't really talk about that. They're really like, I guess, communicating or connected through like a singular voice. You know what I mean? And I also see less of that in the older people, where they were really like brought to the party with it, but now it's becoming more of a singular voice. How does it go for you?
Interesting. I've connected with those energies, with angels and different beings since really like 2017. But I think I had this kind of chip on my shoulder where I felt like, yeah, I do, but like, I'm not doing what they're doing. Like I would look at like people like you and Morgan and, hear about, kind of like your more visitation type energies, things like that. I think there was just kind of this comparison distortion kind of going on in my head. But, I get the light codes constantly. The number codes everywhere. Constantly I'm receiving downloads. It's been very auditory for me. I hear ringing in my ears and, different things. I tune in to, what comes in. I receive the downloads. But really since Soulogy, I mean, in the last year, I guess it's been more dragons I've been experiencing.
Wow.
But really since Soulogy, it has become more galactic. And, in the past I did see, extraterrestrials and things, but it'd be very brief and my mind would kind of shut it down with doubt or something, like something would kind of mess with the connection, but I still receive the download. But really since then, it's been clear. Like there's not this distortion lens of me blocking myself for some reason. That was actually huge during Franco on Saturday.
Yeah.
During that meditation that he led, I really did. I just saw them all, like tons of, different higher beings, and they were just there. They were just present with me. And I cried, I bawled, and I was like, wow, I'm really here, which, it's been interesting for me because I've been on this journey, but there's been so much faith that had to be involved for so long without kind of validation.
Yeah.
And that was this big, the validation always was in, I'm growing, I'm healing, I'm evolving, but that was this big, like, oh my God, now I'm really here moment.
Yeah. Man, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, you just absolutely verbalized and even more so energetically communicated my whole experience. And I don't just mean from Soulogy Fest. I mean from the whole 9 yards. So this is really encouraging because I'm a big believer that, and everybody's a piece of this cosmic jigsaw puzzle, that certain people or teams break down energetic barriers, and then it moves faster and it moves faster. And you're again like an embodiment of that. But what you said about the Soulogy Fest, and then of course pinpointing it to Franco's what does he call that? A process, which is kind of like a meditation. But I'm not big on that stuff. I'm probably like ADHD or something. I can't do that to it. But I will tell you, I listened to that one, and then he did another one. Actually did two more. He did one privately with some friends one night, an abbreviated version, and then he did another one on the broadcast we did when we were on the couch, the last broadcast I did before I left Sedona. And if you listen to the words, which you obviously did, they seem like words if you're not really paying attention. But when he talks about things like, take your ego, take your traumas, take all these things that taught you that are no longer necessary for your evolvement, and and hug them. I mean, it's really, really profound what those simple words can do. And he caught my attention.
For
So,
sure, yeah. And that was a big thing I kind of left. I think I was explaining this to somebody after. It was like it wasn't necessarily that he said anything
mhm.
that I've done those meditations in different groups. I've gone to different communities, different spiritual worker communities around the state, around the area. And they say all kinds of things, and the things are great. Sometimes they're super activating, sometimes they aren't. But it was more so it was the energy behind it.
Yeah,
It was the support behind everything he said. Like it just
yeah.
vibrationally resonated and landed so perfectly. Like it just I'm sure he said a ton of great things. I don't know. I more
Well,
so was in
yeah.
the energy
No, I
of
get
it.
what you're saying. That's why I said
Yeah.
even more. Like even with you, it's the energy and I think what he did was both verbally. If you listen to everything, which for me it was a great achievement for me to listen to anything, and but he was connecting all the dots.
Yeah.
He was talking about everything from the oversoul to the most human thing, and everything was in reverence. But I agree with you. When he got to the Soulogy Fest and he spoke for 30 or 45 minutes on the opening night, one of the first things he said was, thank you all for creating this. And he said, it may seem like it's Soulogy or Todd's this or Morgan or whatever, but we all had a hand in this. It's a microcosm of the whole experience here. We all have a say in everything that goes down, including who was elected president or however the narrative goes, right? And so I think that energy kind of comes through with what you were saying earlier about how you ended up here. Is there was definitely a palpable evidence of the collective creation, not just it being on one person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's been a journey. uh, so many different. Gosh, it was interesting. I was thinking about this beforehand because it was like, all right, so Monique talked about bringing me on the show, and then I felt like the show started working on me, almost like preparing me for what I was going to join into. So there was a massive letting go process that went through with that, and even in the last couple of days. And so I was just kind of like, oh, it'll be what it is. But then yesterday I went into this like whole, oh no, I'm going to tell my life story. Like I went into this like mental kind of thing,
Yeah.
and then that I cleared and I went through and I let go of. And it really just showed me the power of showing up without an agenda,
Yeah.
which I think is what immediately connected me to Soulogy.
Yeah.
And just people in this community. I joined other spiritual communities, but there was always some kind of underlying agenda that seemed very uncomfortable. It was just there. I could
Yeah.
feel the presence of it. And, it's confusing. It's like, are they trying to make money off of me? Are they trying to really help me? Are they trying to this? And, here it's like, you're just giving this out,
Yeah.
And letting it land and just being, fully like present. And the service just, it comes from that. But it's not some like I decided, oh, I'm going to serve in this way, this way, this way, and this way, and that's what it's going to be. It's like, no, you just showed up.
Right.
And then it started to happen.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful thing that, has really been opening. I mean, I guess that's kind of, like this more 5D, like just operating.
Yeah. I mean, I believe me, I get it. And that's why I said, not only I was amazed that in the chat room on YouTube, on the people, for, the people that were online tickets, you guys didn't just match the frequency, you actually expanded it. And I was just like, hell. And during this time that we're talking about, one of the things that came to me was an understanding that what we call God or goddess or source or universe or whatever you want to call it, isn't a noun. It's in motion. It's a verb. And I've felt this way before, but not to the degree that I have now, because I realized what you're describing, that moment when you do all the work, you put it all behind you, and you just show up. You don't know what the F you're going to do. That's creation. That's actually, that's why I think freestyle or channeling, or because it's the same thing, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's still a fusion of you know, of something out there and something in me. And it's like the same process because, you know, I know we did something on May 14th. I got there on the 13th. So the 14th, they had like a little concert set up, a little event. So they said, well, if you're coming, we'll just name it I Am Soul. And so really, you know, it was these really high level musicians, and, you know, and it was not something I had been, you know, really exposed to. But anyway, I just opened it up. And so when I got there, I felt something, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this place, because I thought to myself, how do I get rid of all this? How do I, you know, I don't want to be what I've been. And so I went to this place, and it just happened. And it was, I'm going to get it out there. And it wasn't just about me. It was about the whole thing. Right. And it was what you're talking about too with Franco, where it wasn't an expression of an individual. It was actually somebody tapping into the field of consciousness. And the more people that were present, the bigger it got. That's how I'd put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is just like music to my ears, really, and validation. So, like, I'm just curious. You talked about a second ago how you were, in this case, you were like contemplating coming on here the day before, and you had some things pop up, and you said you basically had to, you know, put those to rest. How do you do that?
So this is actually a little bit of a visualization that's been in my head lately. It doesn't necessarily need to be this, but I actually, so this just came to me. It's just like a rope I'm holding on to. I just let go. And I just allow my whole body, my whole presence to just start letting go of things.
I love that.
It's really just a journey of that, you know, just not holding on to any specific idea or, you know, whatever. But, you know, that's been a journey. I mean, I've had to learn, you know, become neutral and, you know, things like that in so many ways, and work with all different kinds of people's stuff for that. But lately for me, it's just that letting go.
Yeah. I love your that visual, because most of the time, like Bruce Lee's thing, you light it on fire, you light it on fire, then you throw it in the trash. But like all the ones I've ever heard up until this moment were ones where you let go of something, but you're still standing there. I love yours because I'm holding on to a rope. I let go. I'm the one that's being let go. You know what I mean? I love that. That's powerful. I'm going to have to remember
that thought, that belief system that's so tightly in there that I need to show up as someone special, or I need to do something for the people who are going to watch this in my family or my friend group, or, you know, because I know this is going to be a bit beyond just your collective. So, you know, it's like, how can I connect this with them? It's like, no, just let go, man. This is like, if I show up, it'll be what it is.
Yeah. Just be you. Right. Yeah. That was trippy what Paul was talking about on the previous show. He was talking about the breaking down Hugh man, and Hugh was something about image. And I was like, wow, made in the image, man made in the image, you know, I mean, and he was talking about just being, right? Like he's gotten to this point after all his years, you know, where he's just like, I'm just going to be me. And that's what's so cool about it, to think that the way we maximize our potential just to be ourselves.
Yeah.
That's like, oh shit. You know, that's like, it's too easy, but it's actually easier than what we thought easy was, you know? Do you, have you ever, let me ask you this first. I don't know if you watched, Monday night, we had the after festival at the Chocolate Tree restaurant. We had a little stage set up. And it came off and on because of the service at that restaurant. But we're going to get that out too. But so I got up there and I started talking, thanked everybody.
Monday night, I was bathing in those energies, man.
Okay. So you were on your back.
Yeah.
Well,
I finally collapsed. That was
is it right? So I'm up there. Ty comes up, starts the music, and I don't remember if I went into a little something, but this guy walks up. I think he's 25, and I can't remember his name now, but I know he's 25. Anyway, he was helping us, you know, at the festival, volunteering and stuff, and I got to know him. And he walked up, and it was one of those moments, like he walked up and you could see his transparency. You could see his pure vulnerability.
Mm.
And I just nodded at him and said, you want to go, let's give it a shot, And so we start, doing our best to freestyle back and forth. Now he's much more conventional, he's like a Kendrick Lamar style, or, the contemporary styles. And I'm just doing my SoulSpeak stuff. So he went like 3 rounds, and he kept, losing the phrasing, but he was real cool about it. He laughed and he said, "Oh man, Yeah. And I said to him, "Man, don't worry. You're in a space where," I think I was trying to rhyme it. "You're in the spaceless space and the timeless time where everybody's got your back, and you're not we're past the point of embarrassment. I am soul, whatever." And this kid ripped. Now this is after like 3 or 4, starts and stops. He rips 2 verses. I mean, he went like 8 or 9 lines, gave it back to me, then another 8. Those 2 verses, I mean, people were just like, holy shit, And I said, that's what it's all about right there.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It's this permission giving energy, so many people they've never had that, they've never had this kind of, and I'm actually thinking now that is almost like a very feminine space. It's like this kind of like, oh, we're just going to hold you. We're just going to allow you.
It's a womb.
Yeah, it's a womb. Yeah.
Soulogy platform is a womb. I mean, the world is a womb. The universe is a womb, Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge thing I experienced in freestyling, in poetry, open mics. Just like this, allow people to just come out, share your raw truth. It might be nice, it might be cool, it might be kind of gross, it might be kind of
I might fall right on my face.
Yeah, exactly. But like magic, this palpable magic happens in those rooms, and it really does open that up for everyone. So even someone just getting up and failing a few times, just falling, like they really are opening up that space for everyone else who has judgment or has something around their own expression. They're just like, oh, we're just playing here. Yeah. And now everyone can play.
Yeah. And everybody's soul's ass looks the same. So now you're talking about what, like Zoom rooms, like we do the open mic on Soulogy where you have people come in, or you talking about actually going out and doing it in mass?
Going to open mics. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I remember when I went to my first one in Philly on South Street back in the early Soulogy days. And that was so cool, dude. I mean, like it was so cool to get up there. And I'd never done anything without having all the sound in my ear, especially to hear the resonance of my voice, like the speakers behind you and you can't hear anything. And you just like, who cares? Right. Yeah. And there's something about getting past the point of self-consciousness, which is basically what you think people are seeing, or even considering that their eyes are on you. There's something about getting into that space that's just incredible. And so,
the judgments, they're always so brief too. And I think people, they miss that because they're the ones who keep judging themselves after the fact. But everyone else, it's like something might flicker in their mind. Yeah, they might have something that you triggered or whatever, but then they're off, they're doing their thing. So it's this illusion that everybody cares so much about, whatever.
Right.
And that was such a huge thing for me to really realize, like, fear is just me just choosing. It's just being afraid. Yeah. That's all it is. Like, there's no more, there's not this danger anymore. The danger is I just might see myself. That's it. Like,
it's one thing to deal with other people might see me, but it's a whole other thing to say I might see myself. Right. I got to download. It was Monday morning, so after the festival, going to the Chocolate Tree for that post festival thing, and I had to sit with it because I was like, this is just too I can't get it. And it was the only thing that impedes unconditional love for yourself is fear. Yeah. I thought that's too easy, but it's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And it really is. I mean, there's something about getting into that space, and it's just you. That's it. It's just you. Do you often do the open mics and stuff? I mean, are you comfortable doing it in public? Like,
I
right
did,
now?
before COVID. I'm excited for those things to start opening up again.
Well, we can do one right here, right now.
Heck yeah, let's go for it. But yeah, they've actually been a huge part of my spiritual. Sorry, I have a dog trying to break into my room. They've kind of been a huge part of my spiritual journey as well. Really just going up there and sharing the depths of, what I'm experiencing with these groups of people, and just allowing it all to come out, even if it is something that I really don't like, even if it is something gross, even if it is, like whatever. And, that's the judgment that says that it's gross, but, it's all beautiful at the end of the day. Yeah. But, really like allowing that. And it's so interesting. I'm kind of pixely on my screen because I have this old camera.
Yeah. I'm seeing some things too, but because I get what you're saying, because I've never done a poetry slam, and I would say this kid style was kind of a freestyle poetry slam style-esque type thing, like a fusion of it. But one of the things about poetry slams, it is what you're explaining. Again, you're explaining something I've never been able to explain, but I know what you're talking about. And it's this, it's that brutal honesty of the soul. And some of the things they talk about are not pretty.
Oh yeah.
But they're pure, because they're going, I can't come up with anything right now, but
it could be a woman who's talking about, her problem with her ex, maybe having gotten raped. Yeah. Like, I actually journeyed through listening to some women share about some really, really deep stuff, in some of those rooms. And, it was uncomfortable for me as a man to hear them.
Wow.
But it was super helpful because it gave me this context. It gave me this emotion. I could feel them raw on the stage, just pouring it out. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, I get it. And, sometimes I even was the dude that they were, like back when I was younger, I was that dude that they were, going off on now. And I'm like, oh, now I really get what that feels like for them. Yeah. So there's this magic.
Wow. Yeah. I think, to me, it's like, it was interesting, for instance, like Franco and Jason being on the stage at the same time, and the differences, in what their makeups are. And I remember, talking to someone about it and saying, I just see it as the more points of context you have, and the more points of contrast that you have, the greater the potential of whatever's birthed out of it. And so when you're talking about these ladies, there's so much we can get into there. The fact that they're actually putting stuff on the table that maybe in a human level, someone's never thought about, particularly a man. But at the same time, they're doing it from their deepest place. Yeah. Right. And it's a little metaphoric, poetic, prose, whatever. And it really accentuates it and emphasizes it. So that to me is light language.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is soul, it is that expression, that depth. So I'm totally down to freestyle, by the way.
No, but okay, good. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of like, so now you do poetry slams and freestyle. Do you consider those two different things? Or
it all adds up to the same thing ultimately. Yeah. Even when I'm writing a paper for school, like I'm going to college right now because I'm developing myself as a writer. Right on. But which I didn't know for a while. It's like, why am I going to college? But it's, spiritual. Oh, you need to go to college, dude. And I'm like, what? No, like this doesn't matter. And then recently it's like, no, you're going to write books, dude. And I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. It all adds up, because it's this understanding wordplay, understanding how to flow it down on the page, being present with yourself, allowing yourself to really go there. And then also kind of there's this magic in breaking apart language.
Yeah.
You know, because language, it really, you know, it's flawed. Everyone likes to talk about, you know, the English language is flawed. It doesn't express the true vibration of so many things. But it's like when you break it down and you change it and it becomes this flow, like the flow, it speaks to different things.
Yeah.
Like this word opens up this word, opens
Yeah.
up these words, opens up. So I'm no longer on this linear track of thinking, this linear track of speaking. Now all of a sudden I'm flowing through all of these different kind of dimensions of myself, and they're manifesting in this expression.
Yeah.
And
Jesus,
then, yeah.
you're lit. And since you're bearing your soul, I haven't, you know, I had this thing where, you know, I tapped into that feminine, that artistic, that creative side, you know, a few years back in a couple of years after Soulogy started. And so that was quite an experience, you know, that was something that really helped me to get in touch with that part of me, which had not been a part of me. You know, the last thing I would have told you is I was artistic. Was I very successful in the 3D, you know, corporate life? Yeah. But that part of me, no. But so, you know, what I'm saying is that I've kind of like stepped back into it in the last 2 or 3 months, but not, I'm still like doing a lot of other stuff. But I have this thing where I know that that's a big part of our journey, Todd's journey, Soulogy, and the world's journey, which is, I can only relate to it, I guess, through what I would call poetry slam, poetry, prose, freestyle. Like freestyle to me is the ultimate channel.
Yeah.
And when I see people do it, I don't care what they're talking about, because again, it can be dark, it can be light, but if it's sincere and it's not egoic and not misogynistic and all the whatever, you know, and it's pure, it's just powerful. And I'd love to be able to do it. I can't say I ever have, really, but I'd love to see what you got.
All right. So I guess I'll just go for it. It's interesting. I was thinking about doing a beat, but I can do no beat. It's
do
just like,
do a beat. I'd have to do a beat. You don't have to do a beat. Just
well, let's see if I can turn on an instrumental. I'm working with other people's instrumentals. I don't make my own beats these days.
Well, the part of the reason I'm over here like twisting and turning is because when that kid came up and he started with that type of phrasing and tempo, I started to pick up on it, and I'd never done that before because I'd never attempted it before, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, I'd never done that in front of people before.
Yeah. It's so magical to do it in front of people.
Yeah.
All right. So let me know if you can hear this. How's this?
That's fine.
It's fine. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Magic in motion, showing you the motion of the ocean, the parts of me that want to speak but cannot just release. So I just chill back and vibrate with where I am in my mental state, with all the stuff that I need to create. I need to relate to you. Whoa. But the truth is flow, and the truth is know everything it needs to at the right time. When I speak to, open up your mind, open up your heart, open up the energy, and let myself be smart with the infinite. All of it, it's inside. Energy that I drive. I came here to thrive. I came here, I'm alive, but I've been all this time. I just was hiding out in my skin, like what will I do with all this doubt? Vision so clouded, not talking about what was true up in my route. But then I let go of that flame, let go of that pain. And I started to turn something on that was so true, my man. And the fires, they lit my chest, the energy I invest inside of myself, inside of my wealth, reflecting on the outside. Now I drive this ship to different universes, different places that I knew in verses, different things that I'm working on. And I live in the song, and I'm getting real strong. And I'm lifting these weights, and my pencil lives long in the paper I write, long in the things that are nice. When I sit down on my computer, I just take my own advice, I write that down. Everything that I need to, I open up my crown and all the energies are coming right down. Ask if I could see it. I could see it on the paper. I could see it in my mind. I could see it in the rhymes that are flowing through me all the time. But how can I release it? How can I show you the sublime? I cannot teach this. I just unwind and show whatever floats my boat. I'm living with this path I wrote many lives before, many times before. I've been on this path, opening up, and I can see so much more than this mask with just this face, just this perplexion, just this grace isn't me, just this space. That's the sea of energy that's so complete that I know enemies inside. I'm the ship that I drive. I'm the man who's alive. I'm the man who can thrive, but I also got this feminine inside, and I neutralize all the pain, all the stuff that felt ashamed, all the stuff that kept me out of my own lane. Now I hold the reins. Now I go with it. Now I'm getting gains. Now I'm shifting frames. Now I am shifting dimensions, open-ended. I am ascending. Now I am blending all of this together. I am just floating like a feather with my heart. Anubis down there just weighing it. I am smart. But at the same time, I let go of this mental. Check. Floating with the pen and the pencil paper. I got this flavor. I've been a savior of myself, but didn't know that until I erased all of that health and all of that wealth that I did not know that I already had. I had to go into the low to just remap and see that black and see that pain. So I'm not insane, and I'm not ashamed. I hold the reins. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just the universe in flow. Let it go. Then I'll know. Yup.
Jesus Christ. See, that's it, man. That's the way it should be. I mean, that's like, I don't even know what to say, man, other than you're going to have to come to the next Soulogy Fest. Yeah. I'm dead serious. This type of energy, however it comes out, is what I see as being, I guess in my role as Soulogy is to produce and promote. And that can be a lot of different things. I just got to say that's just amazing. What you did. What you did is just amazing. It taught me a lot. It did. It taught me a lot. Listening to the beat and listening to you, collaborate with that beat and synchronize with the beat, had a lot of code for me, and I really appreciate that. And not to mention, it was just fucking, dope.
Fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool too, because I don't necessarily, this has been a thing I've learned. Especially having like the health kind of concerns and not being able to get out so much for a long periods of time. Like 2020 happened. Everyone's like, "Oh, we're stuck in our house." I'm like, I've been here. I know this landscape, but
it didn't affect most of the empaths because most of them were recluses.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just kind of was like, I really got to get to know myself and have fun with myself. And I think that's the magic of a lot of this creativity, whether it be someone painting or someone being, drawing or dancing. Hip hop dance is a huge thing for me. I can have a blast just with me, just with rap, just with, whatever. Like, I don't need this external stimulus to, so, Jason talks about this self-sourcing. Like that is, I'm sourcing my joy. And so when I get to express that with people, it's like, oh, it's huge, Yeah. So, yeah,
that's very true. Yeah, I can relate to everything you're saying. I really can. And the other thing about, and I do remember as I was listening to you in the beginning, I do remember listening to you. I think it was about 2 years ago when you sent me something, and I remember the energy of it. I remember it, and it's like night and day. So it's also this space that we're talking about, that it's actually our natural nature. I think it's just
close my window real quick.
Yeah, I think it's just our human programming that creates the doubts and all that negative self-talk and all that, and the self-consciousness. But the thing is about this space that we dip our toe in and then at some point jump in so many different ways in our lives, is that it does bring up whatever's keeping you back. You know what I mean? And so at some point, it's like what you said, you let go of that rope and you're just falling into the abyss, into the unknown, into the holy darkness. I mean, that is the womb. It really is. I mean, it's fearful. I mean, it creates fear in me. If we got up on a stage right now and we did what me and that kid did, I'd be like the kid. I'd be the one having to bust through, and you'd be having to say, "Go, keep going, keep going."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel that. And, for so many years, I could rap. I've been practicing this. I practice this a lot, and I do it a lot for fun. So it's like last year I could rap and I felt like I could do it pretty well, but I was in such a depressed state, kind of mentally, and emotionally in a lot of ways. And when I was flowing my raw truth, the darkness, it would come up, the thing that was painful, the thing that I didn't want to share, that I didn't want to express. And it's like, but if I shut that off, I felt like the rap wasn't as good as it otherwise was. Like, it needed to come out, it needed to flow. And so I kept it so private for so long, just because it was like, I recognize this might become something one day, but I'm still healing. And so this is almost like my magic, like my, kind of casting spells in my life and just expressing this raw truth to myself and exploring it. And then, really in this last year, I kind of, I had this big awakening of like, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm just afraid of fear. Like all the magic is in the sharing. And then really just letting go of so much of that stuff so I can just show up and be like, I'm not worried about what comes out anymore. What comes out is what needs to come out, versus I'm afraid that when I am in that state, something's going to come out that I'm afraid of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is true too. All you got to do is look at, some of the, I would say probably the vast majority of incredible artistic expressions that, whatever genre, say music, it's the dark night of the soul. It's like the hero's journey to self. It's like, I know my stuff early on, I mean, it was all about the shadow. It was all about the ego. It was all about trauma. It was all about overcoming. And you're right. There's something about finding that part of yourself, right? I mean, that is healing, really.
Yeah.
Because eventually it leads back to this, this is my deal. It doesn't matter how I got here. What matters is I'm awake now. I can apply it.
It's interesting too, because it is, very much like a spiritual practice, because when I'm doing it, like as I rap, I hear the resonance of my words. I feel them in my body. And so if I say anything that isn't resonant, I clear it in the moment. I say, oh, okay. And then I shift off into a different direction. I shift off. So it's like this magical, like speaking to the field and then getting immediate feedback. Like I'm having this super deep flowing conversation with myself that, I'm getting this immediate something back. And so it really, I realized this last year, it's not so much just a creative expression. It really is like magic. It's like you're casting spells out here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear people rap and and it's okay if they're on this way, it's fine. But some guys do the Slim Shady type stuff. They're talking a lot of rap with their music, and it's very violent and it is casting spells. So it's
it always
yeah. So I felt like I was aware of that so early on in my progression that it was something like that.
Yeah.
And so I I almost like held back because I was like, I don't want to cast those to people. And then, now I'm like, no, it's fine. Now I'll, you know.
Well, no, that's a really good point, because, you know, I'm a big believer that, you know, for instance, if you take something like the virus and everything that has been a byproduct of the virus, or whatever, it's not the physicality that's the point. It's the power. It's the power we give or don't give to the suggestion that's being made, which is a spell. Hey, the world's under threat, you know, whatever that may be. That's an energy that goes out there, and we can grab onto it, right? Or we don't. And we've been, you know, obviously programmed and conditioned just to grab onto it. Now that's part of our journey. We're learning we don't have to do that, whether it be somebody projecting on us or the world projecting some type of suggestive programming. But now, not only do you have, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is this what I would call artistic or inspirational sharing or expressions, whatever it may be, light language or poetry or rap or whatever, from a conscious standpoint, somebody that's conscious that I'm putting out a kind of a spell, as in white magic, you know, versus unconscious dark magic. I'm putting this out with intention. People are grabbing onto that, and they may not mimic what they're doing with their body and their words and their voice, but they will mimic the energy, and that's how this thing's expanding. So I think that, like I said earlier, I think that the art, the creativity part of what you described as our feminine, which I think you're 100% accurate, is a big part of what's going to lead us out of this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you got to come to the next Soulogy Fest, dude.
I'd love to.
You'll be a performer. Well,
heck yeah, man.
I mean, you know, and I just want to say this too, because I'm going to be talking more about it. But you know, God, it goes right to what you bring up and what you represent, and what we were just talking about, or I was talking about, and that is our intentions going into it, right? Like nothing came out. It was like a freestyle. We go into it. Okay, this is 8 of us are going to go into it and have a meeting, and then it went 5D, right? So it doesn't make any sense to the human part of us, but the intention is the point. So the energy you've got where 2 or more gather, and then it becomes 20 or more gather, and 30 or more, and then it goes online, and it's just bigger and bigger and bigger. And this kind of collective collaboration and co-creation, I think, is really the big indicator of you know how we're going to do, because oneness is oneness, and the more cells, groups that you have doing it, congealing, you know, the groups itself are going to do what the individuals are doing. So yeah, this is huge, man. This is a huge show. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so glad I got to come on.
Do you have your stuff online? Do you have it anywhere? I mean,
you know, I'm mostly just on Facebook. I really.
So you just put it. So if I go to, because I love to do that remix, you know. Plus, I'm putting stuff together for the 2 channels that we're going to flip on 24 hours a day, pretty quick. So I go to your page, go to videos, go to photos, go to video album, and you have some on there.
I got one video, man. I got old videos. I got one long one. This is definitely an invitation. I'll make more.
Well, no, I'm just wondering where I could grab some of your stuff.
Yeah,
well,
no,
we have, yeah. Well, have you ever seen the open mic that we do online?
Yes, I saw it. And I was like, yes, one
so
day.
we'll have to collaborate on one. I'd like to get one going like twice a month, but I can't. I don't know if I can be the one always there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd like to collaborate, or anyone else that would be interested in doing that. I know Candace Coe, she's been on a few of them. Some other people have been pretty consistent, but yeah, I think that would be a great idea, because it really goes to what you were saying at the beginning of the show about this whole thing about going into these rooms. And I love that story about the women getting up there at the poetry slam and talking about the stuff, you know, and then you having that experience. But yeah, so that's the kind of atmosphere that it's always seemed to go well. You know, you would think somebody would get on and like hog the screen, and you know, I've never had to like ever. It's that there's something about that, what you were talking about earlier, that space where you know you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Cool.
sure.
So what are your plans? Are you working a quote unquote 3D job, or are you doing this full time, or what's happening?
At the moment I'm not. 2020, the end of 2020 was pretty rough for me. So I dealt with some just kind of health issue. What's going through my mind is like it was like a health relapse, but I went back into dealing with some of the harder kind of issues around kind of the Crohn's disease. I say that in quotations, but kind of ailment I was diagnosed with. And so I had some surgeries and things, but it was amazing how that kind of opened up 2021 for me. It like opened up the beginning of this year so I could leave my job that I was working in, like the service industry, the restaurant, kind of service industry, and live with my parents and really go to school online, and then also just focus on me and my ascension, and just and I needed it. I got so much downloads and progression in the last like 6 months. It's been epic and wild.
So it sounds like that you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's so many people being prepped and moved and radical changes. I mean, I met so many people in Sedona that had just moved there, that were moving there, that were, I met one lady I known a couple of years. She she ended her marriage, sold her house, thought I'll go to Sedona, to Soulogy Fest, and then somehow or another she ends up renting an apartment or a condo for 6 months. But a lot of people tell me I don't know what's next. I don't really, but I just know that their description's a lot like yours, relative to their own place. Like, okay, this is where I'm at, and you can just see it. It's like the table is being set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and it's actively, I really do feel. I heard you say the other day, you talked about we aren't even manifesting anymore, we're creating.
Yeah.
And that's rang in my head so much. Manifestation being this kind of like, it's very unconscious, like our at least for me, like our higher selves and all of our guides and our teams are, they're manifesting all this for us based off our intent. And I feel like humanity got here based off intent. People wanted to do better, but they didn't know what that meant for so long.
Yeah.
And they just pushed. People tried to do better for their children, better for their children, better for the and then eventually it's like, now we're in a place where we can actually, we're safe enough to actually do this work. We're healthy enough, we live long enough lives, but now it's like flipping into this creation mode where it's like I'm just going with what's here. Yeah, freestyle.
It's freestyle. It's exactly, because, and the funny thing is I said that, and then after that, Franco in one of his talks explained it, which was what you just said, that the manifestation is like, I'm going to, like law of attraction. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it is, and I think what you also point out is that we did have the right intentions, but the road to hell used to be paved with good intentions. Now it's the road to heaven with conscious good intentions, or deprogrammed or reprogrammed good intentions. But and then to me, the creation / creativity, or whatever you want to call it, is that intuitive, spontaneous space. It's that freestyle energy. It's pure transparency, and when the more transparent we are, the clearer the channel is. And I think that's one of the reasons that like a poetry slam, something that's verbal, and on the spot is so powerful, because it actually shows that power, because you're actually being at your most vulnerable with every syllable, right?
Yeah. And it's that faith, that it's all going to work out. And I it's so interesting because I really want to be a person, or I want to be. I am a person. Once you let go of the want, you actually are it. But that person, who people can just show up with. And that was something I had a big realization. A friend's father died, and I was at his funeral. There were tons of people there. This great masculine influence in my life, this man. And he was the tickets guy. He was awesome. He always, he always made people feel comfortable and said hi and said what's up, you know, and just showed up as himself and had fun. And I had this big realization at his funeral. You know, there's like almost like 1,000 people there. It's like a senator died or something. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's what I want. That's like the truth. Like, just screw all this crap. You're doing this. I think this about you. Oh, look at them. They're playing these games. It's like, nah, I don't. Just show up and let them be what they are, who they are now. And in that, both of you get that reflection. Both of you get that healing. Both of you get that magic. And it exponentially, it speeds up every single process you could imagine. But it's those blocks. It's that mental, like, yeah, but she's a Democrat. She's a Republican. She's that, you know, whatever. Like, just
Yeah, there's something to be said for people like that. I had a uncle like that, and he didn't believe in anything. He just like, we're just warm dirt. But his energy was just pure. You know, it was just purely being. You know what I mean? Like no second thoughts, just, and not a really nice guy, a really good guy. Yeah. And then you said something else too. I want to make sure that we hit this before we get out of here. So at the beginning of the show, you were talking about how back in the day, let's just say post 2012, that in the experience, you had to have this faith beyond faith, right? Like this absolute faith, like this. And I used to, you know, write in the early years when I came out, 2011, 2012, about that faith is a lonely existence, right? And so when you were saying that, I was like, wow, you know, he's right, because it's not requiring that now. And I guess that's probably a result of the reciprocation we're now getting back very quickly, if not in the moment, from the universal energy that's expanding, right?
Yeah, you know, those people came down and really did the work, you know. I applaud the people, you know. It's like, I also feel it's like, you know, maybe my soul is very old, but new to this game on earth, you know. And, you know, I applaud the people who woke up in 2012, because, you know, and the people who woke up way before then, you know, last year you were talking about Morgan, you know, 1999. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I couldn't even find my ass in 1999.
Oh my God. And just the forces against truth were, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting, because one of the things we've noticed, and it's not rocket science, is that the same energies are presenting themselves at the same time every year, right? So this has been a big time for me, because the last week of May has been huge for the last 10 plus years. It's like kind of like the climax almost of every year. And but also with that, like last night, I'm sitting there laying in bed, and all of these things coming back from the streets. Now, in that moment, these were dangerous situations, traumatic situations, you know, disempowering situations, bad situations, addictions, drugs, rock and roll, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I was actually watching them, and I was feeling what I was feeling then, right? And it was so cool, because you reminded me of this at the beginning of the show, that I was just watching this program. I'm like, oh, that's just a program. And there was just nothing left, right? And I feel like that's part of what's happened in 2021. It's like nothing's sticking to us anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
we just have to kind of like remember it, look at it, and it's gone. It's weird. So I can't imagine what the end of the year will look like.
All
right, man. This has been really cool. I'd love to do it again. I appreciate you being a part of this community, because it's not about me or Morgan. It's about all of us, and it really is. And it's people like you that, you know, that walk the talk. And I mean, especially being a man, because this is an energy that I think we've all been waiting for. And it does take balls, you know. This softness is so powerful. But but yeah, I appreciate your honesty and your candor and your talent and sharing your incredible freestyle with us. And I'd love to do it again. And let's get together. I'll reach out. You reach out the next 2-3 days, and let's schedule a couple of open mics.
Heck yeah, man. I'm super into it. And thank you so much for having me on and just for this show. This has been a huge part of my progression. So
right on. I appreciate you.
Thank
Love
you
you,
to
brother.
Soulogy, everyone.
Peace out, man.
Peace.
Take care. Oh, hang on. Let me just. Yeah. So I say, yeah, let's schedule a couple of open mics over the next 30 days. If you're up for that, we can collaborate on it.
Super into it.
All right, cool. All right, man. All right, we'll see y'all in 40 minutes with Crystal Clenny, who I've never met, and that's the best way to do it, right? Just like this one. Peace out.